Welcome to the Dr. Mudgil podcast. I could not be more excited. I mean, truly, I'm so excited to have Mr. Cartoon in front of me. I watched LA Originals last weekend. We're all stuck on quarantine. My wife, we were flipping through Netflix, and she's like, let's check this out. I was like, all right, awesome. I didn't know anything about it, to be honest with you. And
oh yeah.
I was blown away. First of all, like that whole era of music is like the shit that I love. During college and Cypress Hill and all that stuff, and the tours that you guys all went on. And I known of you, like I knew you were like a legendary figure in the tattoo world, and you had tattooed literally, I mean, everybody, Eminem, Snoop, Kobe. I mean, everyone has been through your tattoo studio. But what I was so moved by was just the breadth of everything that you do, and just like you as a human, like as an individual, just the energy, the vibe I got. And I reached out to you on Instagram that night. I just sent you a direct message. We've never met, don't know each other at all, and then you hit me up the next day, which just speaks to the type of character that you have, man. And I just can't thank you enough, man, for being here. I really appreciate you.
Hey, I'm grateful to be here, and thanks for reaching out,
Yeah, man. So, I mean, just to dive right in, man. So, the documentary was amazing. I mean, it was basically expansive from like from your early days up until present. And just to kind of like sort of dive in, one of the things that really struck me was your parents. Like, they're so cool. Like, I just thought your dad just seemed like such a cool guy, and just really it just seemed like such an environment to grow up in, which I think was, and I don't mean to, be presumptive, but I assume that was somewhat of a unique circumstance. Like, every household probably didn't have like a mom and a dad. And like, even when your mom was talking about like your artwork, she pulled out a piece of art that you made when you were like 4 years old. And, you were very advanced. It's kind of like a kid who sits at a piano, who's like a genius and, literally just can play, they hear something and they play. That's kind of like what your art was like, at 4 years old. I think that's how old you were. Like, kids are drawing stick figures and stuff. I have kids. And, that's the type of stuff they were drawing at that age. And you were drawing these like complex, like appendages on fingers and like little knuckles and stuff. And your mom actually, she was like, wow, there's a gift here. And like, they really nurtured that. And I was really moved by that, and even when they talk to your parents, like now, just they seem like just so embracing your talent, Can you talk about that a little bit, man? Like what it was like, and how, if it was different from like your friends' parents and stuff.
I mean, that's a great observation. It was different from my friends. Most of my friends were from single parent households, where the dad was maybe incarcerated or just flat out missing, or went to Mexico or something, you know what I mean? And my household, if there is any type of luck or a gift, it's my household. So inside my home was very loving. There was soul music on, classic rock of the day, disco, early 70s, I don't know, my old man's like a semi stand-up comedian. He would do his material there in the kitchen and we'd all laugh. And my mom's like a great woman, and they just emotionally were there. They worked a lot. Both of them worked. And we didn't know these like latchkey kid or any of that. Because I had so much love, I didn't feel that way when they were at work. I was able to take care of myself as young, and I would dive into my artwork. So that was kind of my fantasy. Is whatever I was into, whatever I wanted to see, I would just draw it. So it was a way for me to manifest what I was thinking into reality. I just didn't know it back then. It made me feel good, so I kept doing it.
And I remember when I was like, it's interesting because I grew up in a single parent household, and it was just my mom she was a government doc. She worked for the VA hospital in St. Albans in Queens, and I was kind of like my granddad lived with us, but he was he just basically was there to make sure I didn't kill myself or get into trouble, but he wasn't like a huge sort of like force. And it's just I always now like like I have kids, and my wife and I are married. We have a great relationship, and there's so much love in the house. I always wonder, man, like, because I saw that when I was watching the documentary, I was like, I think it has a huge effect. And I'm sure you probably watched the Jordan documentary on Sunday night. But
Sure.
he talked about that, how he was so different because he had a mom and a dad growing up, and how that was different than all of his buddies and on his teams, and you know, it really grounded him and like taught him certain
Yeah.
values which are latent, I think. And I really picked that up from you, like from the kind of the way you were, and you're kind of like different than the other figures in the documentary in a weird way, in like a sense that you had that, and that's one of the observations I had. And I also like, you know, you got into like little trouble, it sounded like, but never anything serious. Like, you know, like you, from what I got, like, you know, like you got busted for
Yeah.
tagging a wall or like, you know, doing graffiti or
Yeah.
something somewhere, but you never like got caught up in like serious shit or got in trouble for getting involved with serious shit, you know?
Yeah.
And,
It was all around me, but the art saved me. Like my old man kept me busy. Not to cut you off, but he would say, "Hey, I'm picking you up at 5 o'clock," and that's when kids start getting into a
yeah,
lot of trouble. You know what I mean? So I was able
totally,
to
man.
see
Yeah.
some. I was able to see some live, all-out gang banging in full 3D in the '80s. But that foundation I had from the inside, I was more worried about my old man kicking my ass than
Yeah.
I was getting fucked up in the street, right? So I learned just enough of that. I mean, you had no choice. You had to go to San Pedro High. You're
Yeah.
going to be around gang members. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that whole old school, it's a real West Coast thing of embracing gangs, embracing your neighborhood pride, Latino pride, Samoan pride, Black pride. You know, like you're able to kind of grasp on, and you know, Pedro has like Yugoslavian kids, Italian kids, so it's really mixed up. But I just fell in love with the art at a young age. Graffiti art just floated my boat. I thought that was the greatest shit ever.
Yeah.
And I was able to talk my way out. The detectives would come in and I'd throw my mouthpiece on, and some kids could be like, "Fuck you, pig." I was like, "Is that your car right there? That's a cool car, man." And they were like, "Oh, you like my Camaro?" And
Yeah.
I would just like distract them and shit. Like, look at this over here. Don't mind. I just rode all over your building. Look at this, you know. So I learned the art of having a mouthpiece or being able to have some type of sales or uh, borderline bullshit. How that works for you to kind of smoke and screen people into looking at your art or
Right.
paying attention to you at all.
Yeah, well, it's actually the art of negotiating the world. You know, that's kind of like how you interact with
Yeah,
people. You know,
for
and
sure.
and then like so in one part of the documentary, you know, you got busted, like, and you know your dad had to get you out of, like, you know, you were like, I don't know, I guess the police station or something like that.
Yeah,
And for some reason, it sounded like that was like a turning point for you, where you're like, well, you know what, I love art and I love graffiti. But you were young, like 12 years old, and you're like, "Nah, I could probably make some money, like, you know, make like airbrushing t-shirts and stuff," right? Like,
right.
I mean, I don't know if I have all the facts exactly right, but
Yeah, it's right about that time. I mean, I was actually 17 and I was a senior in high school. And the cops came, the detectives pulled me on purpose because I was going to turn 18. And, but they knew my father from some party they went to, man. You know what I mean? How fortunate that the arresting detective that's been looking for me knows my old man. And because he knew my old man, he was like, this kid must be all right because his dad's such a character, you know? So, yeah, it my family kind of prepped me. And my old man was like, you got to go get a job, man. And a job meant working with him at his print shop. He had a mom and pop's print shop. They would print business cards,
mhm,
restaurant menus, that type of stuff. It's real hard work, and it's a lot of like watching printing presses. And I was like, hell no, I don't want to do that shit. That's way too hard. I'm going to do this art thing. And right away, I started to get jobs doing graffiti on movie sets. They would, I would show up to Warner Brothers or Paramount Studios in Hollywood with a briefcase of spray paint in it. And they would
wow,
say, can you terrorize this wall? And I was like, I was doing that shit for free on the street. You know,
right,
I just did the same shit. I wrote my homeboy things just like I was doing when I got busted. And that was it. I was like, I never have to go back. You know, I would go up and down through my life with getting in trouble and like ups and downs with experimenting with drugs and that type of stuff. Uh, but as the art of my base and having a solid, I think, upbringing, it kept me from being a full-blown
Right.
addict or full-blown fucking homeless guy or some
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
No one's above that, but drugs will get you there faster, you know?
Yeah, well, I guess it makes you a little bit, your elasticity like kind of pulls you back in, you know, when you're kind of teetering on an edge like that. You know, one of the things I also was drawn by was for some reason you have a way to like monetize this skill, you know, which a lot of people have a hard time doing. And there's like a couple of points where I thought about that. One is, so yeah, you were doing like graffiti for sets and stuff, and you're monetizing things that way. You know, then like you started doing logos, like you did like, I mean, I don't know if this was all linear, but you know, logos for
Sure.
like Cypress Hill, and you know, those were the guys
Mm.
you were running with, and you know, you know,
Sure.
all that sort of stuff. And then at some point, you know, you started like, you know, switching from airbrushing and you know, graffiti to tattooing.
Mm. Sure.
Um, but I imagine it's like everyone must like at some point, even like really prominent folks must hit you up for free stuff, like way back, say even like, you know, like, hey, can you do this
Sure.
tattoo for me? You know,
Mm.
how do you get like, how do you divide like, you know, doing something like pro bono, like doing something for like a celebrity and saying, you know what, no, that like everyone, like when you went on that tour and you were tattooing everyone on that tour, you know, were they paying you or were you doing all that stuff like pro bono?
I learned at a young age just to charge everybody and give them a discount to those that you want. So to those guys, they were getting it for half price, but they were still paying me.
Okay.
So uh, people love to hear that shit. I got it for half price. Nothing's free. Like if I do it for them and I don't charge them a monetary like money, I would say, hey man, can you come and speak to these kids for me? Or could you guest on this? I need you for that. So there's bartering, but never free. So
Right.
there's always a barter in the situation. So anybody listening to this that is doing still on the come up, always barter. Don't use the word free. It's a four-letter word. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Uh, yeah, there's always some type of string attached,
Yeah.
and sometimes you were better off just charging.
Right.
But when I was first good enough, it was a barter that I was gonna put my work at this guy's shop, and it's the hottest shop, and I'm getting paid in notoriety. I'm getting paid in this guy's trust because I told him, "Don't worry about it, man." And, you know, rich guys, they love to get stuff for a good price for free. You know, so the illusion even that he's getting it for free to me is worth something. So yeah, it's tough, man, because artists, poor, broken, lonely artists, is very, very common. I did it for most of my life with no expectations of being paid. Like between graffiti and I could get paid. When you start off, but airbrushing T-shirts, I was able to get paid right after.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, hey man, I want my kid's name on my shirt, or my wife's and my kid's name, and or my last name on the back. I could do that, and then right there, I would fold it, put it in a bag, and that's how I kind of started apparel. I
Right.
started in the fashion industry. I ended up in Milan in Fashion Week, but started off at a swap meet in Los Angeles as a kid airbrushing shirts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy,
So
man.
it's
So
crazy.
was that like in a storefront you were doing that? Or people would say, hey man, I know this guy does this sick airbrushing. He can make a t-shirt for you, and you'd kind of like do it at your house.
I did them everywhere. So I would post up at a little, if it was Christmas, I would go to the Long Beach Mall, stand in the window. If it was a car show, I'd go to the car show at the high school parking lot and set up 10 by 10. If it was someone, a big baller like Freeway Rick Ross, the original Kingpin in LA, he had a big wheel shop and I used to sit up there.
Oh
And
wow.
it'd be all Crip gang members and like crazy shit. But I just mind my own business and just paint.
Wow,
Keep my
that's
nose to the shirt, and I was able to travel anywhere.
wow. So there's two things I just got from what you just said. So one is like folks who look at your life and look at all the success you've created, and literally it's kind of like a magical existence, and you did all this amazing cool stuff hanging out with like the coolest people. Like, wow, man, you know, cartoon, just got so lucky, man. There's like he
Sure.
just got lucky. But you know, they don't see that. you sitting in front of like a rim shop and, you know, hustling, you know,
You did,
grinding. Or they don't see that since you were like a 4-year-old kid, the 10,000 hours, the 10,000 purposeful hours of practice, like you put
yeah.
that time in. It's not like, hey, okay, like, you know, you just fell into this. Like there's like there's a whole hard work element to this, right?
Exactly, a great observation. I mean, it's similar. Look, it's not the same, but it looks a little bit the way that you guys have to go to school. There's no way to cut those hours. There's no way to shortcut those years that you have to put in to your to your practice or to you learning for you to mold the stuff.
It's so easy for someone who actually didn't see the documentary, just kind of knows you or gets a tattoo by you, like, oh wow, this guy lucked out. Look, he's doing tattoos for all these like fat, you know, super famous people, and you know, but it's not something
Sure.
that it just doesn't just like happen like this, man. There's like so much
No.
grind behind that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, people don't see that. You don't. We didn't film that back in the day. It's hours on hours, 1,000 hours, of just when no one's watching, man. No one's patting you on the back. You're making mistakes. You misspell shit. It's not flowing. Your tools aren't working right. This is a part of it. It's either that or you work at a department store and someone's giving you a hard time, or either way, you're going to get a hard time, right? It's just what environment do you want to be in? And I chose art, and it just I actually like it. So that's why they say, love your job, because either way it's going to be work, right? Because I don't always get to paint what I want to paint. I only get to do what I want to do. So most of the time I do, but sometimes I don't. So it all kind of evens out. And like what you're talking about, I think people have a misconception that I'm lucky, but I was told that luck is labor using correct knowledge, right? It's being prepared for opportunity. Um, it's labor. You got to work your ass off using correct knowledge, finding out what works in your life and applying that. Now, in between that's a bunch of mistakes. You're going to face plant a couple times. You're going to be humiliated. And then you shake that off and you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that way again. Let me try it this style. And especially for art and stuff like that. And I imagine with you guys, every client's different. Every person has a different makeup, like with tattooing,
Yeah.
Everyone has different skin. You get a Japanese girl, she's a vegan. She has milky white skin, the most perfect canvas tattoo on. And then I one of my homeboys that works for the city, sits in the fucking sun all day. He's got leather skin. He hasn't ate a salad in 3 years or drank water. The only water he drinks is in the beard.
Yeah.
And this guy has a different texture skin. He
Yeah.
bends the needles.
Yeah.
So if it's not one thing, it's another. So that's why you got to love what you do.
Yeah, man. No, totally. I mean, all of these like these like sayings that are kind of so worn out, man, like fail your way to success, or, embrace failure, embrace criticism. And there's so much value to all the people say that shit because it's true, or like 10,000 purposeful hours of practice, like all of that stuff. There's a real truth behind all of that. You don't, like success is created overnight. All of that's just stupid, trite sayings that everyone says, but it's all like real shit. But when you talk to
Yep.
somebody who's at, like this is demonstrating it, that like, wow, you can't be a Mr. Cartoon without failing like 10,000 times and making
Yeah.
mistakes and, working shitty jobs that you didn't want to work or doing stuff that you didn't necessarily want to do. Yeah, it's under the term of art, and the stuff that you were doing was all art. But like you said, there's shit that you just didn't want to do. Like, that it wasn't inspiring you. It was more to get paid. You got to sometimes you just got to do that.
Yeah, you always have to be evolving. You always have to keep an open mind. I'm always open for new concepts, easier ways to make things happen. If you got a better way, I want to hear about it.
So
If you
that
got a
actually
secret, I want to hear about it.
This is another observation that I made, was it just seems like throughout your entire career, and this is like different than other folks, is that you've always embraced like technology or whatever's like the latest thing that's out there. I noticed there's like one part in the movie towards the end where you were like sitting in front of like a big computer and you were actually sketching on like a digital pad.
Yeah.
And you said something somewhere in the documentary about like how, you know, other guys don't necessarily embrace like the, you know, technology or computers and stuff, but you always like use it as like a tool. It doesn't like diminish your art. It's just like a different tool. I don't know if I remember the exact phrasing, but it was something that I was like,
Yeah.
wow. I was like, that is amazing, you know, and that's how you stay relevant, you know, like just decade after decade, you know?
Yeah, you want to keep the old school stuff that's real. Like I open the door for people or say thank you or be polite to the server somewhere. I like that old school type stuff. But then, you know, I might just order the stuff on my phone prior to I get there. So I don't know. I think maybe my generation is the last that is down to embrace all that type of stuff. My buddies that are 10 years older than me, forget it. They can't even know how to use their phone. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's keeping an open mind for that. Anything that makes my life easier or it helps me explain it to people, I'm down. You know. But yeah, I've been doing stuff by hand my whole life. I already know how to do that.
Right.
Right. So now we're doing this technology, the Zoom technology.
Yeah.
So this is it. This is the future now. Everyone's gonna have like a little set or a studio where they shoot their stuff. I started years ago. I started isolating years ago. I started the less people that distract me, the better. The better, you know, that if you're writing a book or making songs or do anything that you need concentration, people can be a distraction. I have teenage children right now. I'm telling them it don't even get good to your 20 years old, 21. You know what I mean? Work your ass off now until then you'll have paper stacked up, you have a car, you have your own shit. Then you take that girl out because you got a great foundation you're standing on. You got your shit together, you know. Then start to celebrate a little bit, you know. But people
Yeah.
don't start busting out sometimes till they're 30 or these concepts. So I'm trying to like with my kids, I'm reliving my whole childhood and I'm reliving the almost jump in a time machine. And if I could redo it, I'll do it through them. So
Right.
I'm like, don't worry about what people say, man. That's their opinion, man. I heard something real great the other day. One more of those cliche type of things we run through in our head, and that is try real hard not to offend anybody, but try extra hard not to be offended.
I love that.
So people can say stuff to us. I don't know if you ever heard of Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Hmm. Sure.
So Wayne Dyer, I started like, you know, I'm a skeptical humanist. You know what I'm saying? So I need stuff brought to me real legit. You know what I mean? I mean, not real legit. I need to at least see it, or it needs to make sense to my common sense. And if it doesn't, then I can kind of okay, maybe I'm undereducated in that. I can kind of keep an open mind. But all this stuff, like if you practice, you're gonna get something. If you what you put out, kind of, you know, I don't know. It's that whole. A
Karma,
lot of
man.
people are talking
Energy.
about it now. Yeah, I don't even know it's karma. Like I've been to India, and I was like, okay, I got like this American version of karma in my head, and I definitely don't think it's some like if karma is like some Indian guy in the sky, and he's Hindu man, and he's keeping track of all the small bullshit. Like, hey, you know, you were really rude to that lady the other day. Well, guess you're gonna get into a car accident, sir. Like that's some terrible shit if that's going on,
Yeah.
right? But I
No,
think
it's
what people are trying to say, right? Because people throw the words karma,
yeah.
blessed, they throw these words around,
Hashtags.
trying to be nice. It is a sweet thing to say. Hey, karma's a motherfucker, you know. But I think payback and karma like get connected somehow. I think what people mean is that what you put out, you should usually receive. Doesn't always work that way. There's my aunt right now, such a sweet woman, man. Ain't never stole from no one. She's positive for the coronavirus and like on her deathbed right now. Life is not fair, man. Kobe goes down in a plane. Is little, you know, like
Yeah.
shit is not fair, bro, and it won't be. And Donald Trump will probably live forever. You know, this is just the way it goes. But you try to help those along the way, and kick ass too with what you do, like artwork and stuff, or just being cool. Like if you work at the fucking Foot Locker, you need to be the energy in that place. You need to be the man or the woman. You need to be after that manager's position and pay attention and like look people in the eyes, man, and be grateful. You might even have to go meditate in the bathroom before you go out there and say, don't be an asshole today. You know, like that's what I do. I try to calm myself down and say, you ain't got to be right. You don't have to win. Sometimes you can just show love. You know what I'm saying?
I love
So
that,
I'm
man.
not trying to get too heavy. You know,
No, I love
I
that.
know
Well, it's
it's kind
interesting.
of early.
One of the it's I mean, I love everything you just spit right there, man. I really do. And that's kind of it's sort of this uniform energy thing, and I love it. And I think there's a lot of value there. Yeah, life isn't always fair. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. But there is some sort of, I mean, I believe there's something, it is like sort of the average of the energy that you put out. It's like what you get back. If you're an asshole all the time, like it's just the world's going to turn, people are going to turn on you.
Well, some people are sweethearts their whole life, and they get hit by a truck.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's
Shit
true. It
is
happens. Yeah.
fucked up,
Yeah.
right? So, but being good feels good.
Yeah.
Helping someone out feels good. Being cool, ain't no one talking to this person. Go chop it up with that person at the party. I don't know. Try to just break out of your shell. It helps.
Yeah, man. No, absolutely, man. Just I guess kind of going back to like some of the entrepreneurial stuff that like really kind of blew my mind when I was watching this. And I actually listened to a podcast that you did,
Oh,
which I forget who was with them, but it was so good. It was like an hour and 20-minute long podcast, but I was just like, really, man, it drew me in, and like your story is just there's so many facets to it. And you were talking about like working with Nike and like how that all went down and how you started like designing sneakers. And
yeah,
I thought a great line from that was they were talking about like you were going to come and maybe just do like the same tattoo for a bunch of people at the party. And like one of your boys said, no, man, don't do that. You got to go as like a guest because that puts you on the same plane as
yeah,
other people at the party. And I thought that was just such a brilliant, it was such a brilliant comment by your friend or whoever that was. I don't know exactly who told you to do
yeah.
that, but it was like, yeah, you don't want to be like a circus act at the party, like the guy, like, you want to, and I think that really made a big difference. No, like going in with that mindset, it really kind of set the stage for like his huge thing that came up.
Yeah, I mean, for the background of people that didn't hear that, I think it might have been NPR or something like that, one of those official podcast things. But they go, "How'd you get your Nike deal?" And first, I just kind of knocked on the door. Some guy I knew that worked at Nike, and Nike's important in like the main office, but they have Southern California and New York offices that are real strong, right? So, anyways, I hit my buddy up, and he was like, "Yeah, man." He goes, "A lot of people want to do shoes, bro." And I was like, fuck, man, I thought he'd be more hyped, you know what I mean? And he goes, but let me think about it, bro. So he calls me like a week later. My boy B Win, good dude, man. And he was like, I got it. I got you 10 racks, $10,000. They're gonna fly you to New York, first class, put you up in a boutique hotel, and you just got to go there and just tattoo one of your friends, bro. It's mainly for visuals for you to be there, and because they're introducing laser technology onto the shoes. And I go, wow, that does sound pretty fucking good. You know what I mean? 10 buttons and all that shit. But then my buddy at the time, who was acting as a manager, because I started to deal with these big companies, I couldn't negotiate myself anymore. It looked crazy. Like I'd show up with my homeboy and get intimidated. So I was like, I need someone to represent me, someone that went to school.
So who
Someone
did
that
that?
went to,
Like, and that's an important point, I think, because like I said, this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier about like, sort of like monetizing what you're doing. Like you're doing such things on a huge scale now. Like, you're right. You can't be like, hey, all right, like, how's this going to go down? Like, it's like you have to have like a team, right? Because like it just
yeah,
legitimizes, A, you need it, but B, it legitimizes your offer, like your enterprise.
for sure. You need a team. You have to stop negotiating for yourself. You need a lawyer involved. I'm doing contracts with these people. I don't want them to own my artwork forever. They own it for a certain amount of time, and then after that, they have to renegotiate. Just the fair business that every other guy gets. I want that. And normally we wouldn't get that from major corporations. They're like, oh, these guys, they don't know what's up. Get them to sign right here. And most artists, you know, have it when they get offered that much money and that opportunity, would be a fool not to jump on it, right? But I was gonna, in my head, I was gonna win either way. But I hypercharged, I supercharged my career by trying to see myself equal to other designers. And because I hadn't been to school, because I haven't been to fashion school or university, I didn't have that confidence that I was a fashion designer. I didn't know I was that till they told me that shit. I've been called a lot of things, never a fashion designer. So I was like, okay, I'll take that, you know. And I ended up turning down that offer and said, no, man, but I'll go there if they want to fly me out as a designer, like as one of the peers there, because all my heroes in the shoe game were going to be there.
Right.
And the guy told me, man, you fucked it all up, you know, this. And I was like, oh, man, I did, you know. And then he comes back a week later and says, they said yes.
Wow.
Now it ended up turning into my shoe career. And so by pushing that 10 grand, that was very, very tempting, right? And even if I would have took it, I might have been okay down the line. But I had to roll the dice on it and take a chance on myself that, you know what, that you're right. I do deserve that. So a lot of that is timing, and it's having like this whole movie. It's not about me. It's half about me. Well, a lot of it's about the culture, and then it's about my friend Estevan Oriol. Now, the movie is shot from his eye. It's shot from the inside out. So we're actually in very few pictures together because he's shooting it. So at about 20, 21, I met him, and he was another guy on the same mission, on the same quest to have Latinos in Hollywood, right? Like we were raised in Southern California, and some of my friends, they don't even know how to get to Hollywood, more or less work with Hollywood, you know? I think if more of them had the opportunity, they would. If they're like, hey man, you could be a fucking electrician on the, or you could be a gaffer, or you could be this or that on a movie set. Hollywood's pretty fun, man. It's like a for school when you go on a field trip, you know what I mean? And there's craft service tables and food and models everywhere and beautiful people, and it's Hollywood and blah blah blah. But anyways, it kind of seemed like a way we got over. You paying me for having fun type shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what would, if you guys watch this movie, LA Originals, you'll see me on a team basically, which eventually turned into Cypress Hill and Soul Assassins, to my crew, but everyone's responsible for themselves. It's like you're on an Olympic team, but everyone's got to go out there and stand on their own by themselves. So for us in the Soul Assassin crew, we wanted to bring hip hop and tattooing together, which prior to that, it was like a lot of bikers doing the tattoos. A lot of guys that didn't listen to hip hop were doing rappers' tattoos. So for us, we were going to change that.
You did. I mean, God, you did it on like a crazy scale, man. I mean, God, who haven't you tattooed? It's like the list is literally, it's insane.
We tattooing celebrities ain't as great as it sounds a lot of times, you know. A lot of times they'll show up with an entourage.
Dude, I get it.
They're hours late. But one celebrity, you know, one celebrity though, you could use that name and it goes, it gets you these type of interviews.
You know, it's interesting because I see a lot of celebrity patients in my New York City office, but like with the doctor thing, you can't say who your celebrity patients are. He has all these laws and rules and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, I gotta agree. I couldn't agree with you more. Like a regular guy, like a cop, fireman, a teacher. Those are my favorite patients. Like those are the folks that there's no drama. Like, you know, there's just like a regular person. where sometimes, yeah, it sounds great. Like I'm a celebrity dermatologist. I see all these, you know, famous people, but there's a
Yeah,
lot of headache that wraps around that, you know, like they're
yeah,
like they're late, or you got to go in super early so people don't see them, or it's a
sure.
whole production. You got to deal with their assistants. You got to do this, you got to do that. So I totally feel that, man. You know, it does add a lot of credibility, but it also, you know, it's like the, you know, I'm sure like the when you tattoo just like some regular guy like me or something like that, like, you know, it could be potentially a more enjoyable experience, you know?
Way more because, and, you know, you use regular guy by your name, but I think far from, you know, regulars like my cousin's on his couch, 50 years old at his mom's house. That's a regular guy. You, on the other hand, you have something you want to do. You went to a lot of schooling. You're a perfectionist. You even want to talk about it, and like, because there's one thing of being a doctor, and there's another thing being articulate and being able to talk about it. There's a lot of artists, and I imagine people in your trade are better at what they do, and maybe not so great with the mouthpiece. You know what I mean?
Right.
Artists usually hate interviews. They don't want people judging their work. They don't want to hear fuck all that, this and that.
Right.
But I kind of it's the only thing I know about is culture and art. So, but I mirrored myself to someone like you, and I'm like, I look at the years that you put in, and I look at the service, and you go and do stuff, and I try to mirror or mimic myself after the traits I like, getting the fireman in, an occasional cop, or a fucking someone that got out from 10 years doing time. These are the best people to talk to and
Yeah.
conversate. And
Well, it keeps you
yeah,
grounded too, man, you know? And
sure.
just two other things. Sorry, man, chewing your ear off, man, but you're just like, your
No,
story
not
is just so
even.
fascinating to me.
Oh,
Um,
and just to clean up before you say that, that regular guy on the couch smoking weed, he makes it in sometimes too, saves up his chips. They're
yeah.
pretty funny too. So everyone, we're all right here. You know,
Yeah,
there's
man.
no one
That's
better
it.
than nobody.
Well, you know, you mentioned, I think this might have been for that podcast I was listening to, that like your dad was like really into motivational, like Tony Robbins type stuff. And he like
Yeah,
make you listen to that. And then a
yeah.
lot of things that you're saying, or that I've heard you say either in that podcast or now, or just
Mm,
throughout the film,
sure.
it kind of like, there's like this, that it resonates, some of that positivity that, like, you know, can do.
Yeah.
And you know what? And like, you tell me if I'm wrong, man, but I bet you some of that stuff rubbed off on you, man. Like, you know, like it
It,
empowered you in a way, you know, without you realizing it.
definitely, definitely. I mean, it's a form of sophisticated child abuse, if you will. To it's what do they call it? Emotional incest, where you pump up your kids that they're the greatest fucking thing in the world, and they believe it. So it's reverse abuse, right? Like you wake, hey
Yeah.
son, and you're loving, and you hug them, and you fucking tell them they can be anything. I mean, that's what my parents did, and my dad, being a blue collar guy, had a print shop on the corner in Gardena. He he listened to that shit because he didn't go to college, he didn't go to university, he didn't, but he was smart and he wanted to learn. So he would listen to Zig Ziglar, Earl Nightingale, Tony Robbins, and
Right.
he'd play that. I go, Dad, please, man, don't play that old man, please. And son, you should listen to this. This is good for you. And I was like, oh man, he'd take me to school playing that shit. And little by little, that stuff snuck into my unconscious
Yeah.
and told me, I got one thing out of it. Whatever I believe is true. If I believe I can do it, I'm right. If I believe I'm a lazy piece of shit, I'm right.
Yeah.
Whatever I push towards will manifest. And I'm like I said, I'm a skeptical, free thinking person that I don't believe in magical powers. I don't believe in someone getting zapped and's got some shit that, you know what I'm saying? I just think that um, I fell in love at a young age with something, and I put 10 years of practice in when I was a kid. So when you look at it like, oh my God, this kid's 20 years old in London doing graffiti. it's because of those 10 things,
Right.
because I fucking had my old man tell me I could do it. It's because I looked in the mirror and said, you must do this. You have to do it. No, so maybe my kids will be on a whole other page because they're getting everything I have, and plus they will hopefully be the first ones in our family to go to university
Yeah.
and take in and learn how to break shit down deeper than what I can teach them.
Yeah, I love that, man. And you mentioned earlier, and this is something also I thought was so interesting, is, I grew up very humble beginnings. Like I'd go to someone's house, they had Haagen-Dazs. I was like, oh shit, this person's loaded, man. I mean,
Yeah,
damn,
yeah,
and now like I'm on the other extreme, like where for a while I was just kind of like a lost and like, not lost, but like I had all this like, like fleet of fat cars and like fancy
sure,
house and golf and club membership
sure,
and you can kind of get lost in that. And a lot of what I'm
sure.
doing now is actually a big like reset, like kind of
Yeah,
really wanting to give back and like, kind of making
that's
sure
great.
because like can be very intoxicating and like
Sure.
you can kind of lose purpose. And it was a very short-lived time where that sort of happened to me, where I had a bunch of people working for me and I was like playing golf all the time and I was living the quote unquote dream, like I thought I had arrived, and it was
Sure.
cool for like a couple of weeks, but then I was like, this kind of sucks, like what am I doing? And and you mentioned like with the kids, like it's interesting because I grinded so hard to have all these things that I never thought I'd be able to have, and I
Mm,
surpassed what I thought I could have by a lot. Like the
right.
benchmark of success, I surpassed it, and my kids don't have any of that. Like they don't have
Mm,
that drive, like that,
yeah.
like wow, like I'm gonna fucking do this, and I'm gonna work my ass off 7 days a week, whatever it takes, even like with this sort of stuff. I just saw my
Yeah.
patients, and like now, like I'm recording, but I love this. This is my passion. But like
Sure.
everything takes a lot of work. How do you put that hustle, like into your
Mm,
kids? You mentioned that earlier. That's why I was just kind of curious,
sure.
because I mean, God, you grinded hard, as hard
Sure.
as anyone could possibly grind.
Yeah. I mean, that's a complicated question because you deserve that stuff because all you're really talking about is stuff that you want to do that's quality, right? You want to go to Mastro Steakhouse, you're gonna get a good steak. It's more expensive than the other places. Hey, maybe you go there on your birthday. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay to have luxurious things because luxurious usually just means made well. So, like those cars, German cars, Germans are nuts. Right? They make the best cars. Um, so once you experience that, you can make the decision whether you want it or not. But if you've
Right.
never had it, you can't tell somebody,
Yeah.
"Hey, man, don't shoot to have that new truck or don't shoot to have your own home," uh, because we've already been through it and we know that that'll never satisfy you all the way, right? But there is I do like quality. I like quality hotels, good restaurants, and so I bust my ass to do it, right? Now with my kids, but then let me balance it out here. I go and speak at schools, right? So I say to myself, this is getting fucked up. Like I'm getting it twisted. This can't be real. So I'll go into a youth authority. I'll go into the LA County Jail. I'll go into the juvenile prison. I'll go to the at-risk kids or the high school, junior high, and I'll do an hour pitch on art on my blueprint for free. And I give it away with no expectation. I've been doing that for about 20 years now. I don't post it. I don't put it out there. This is under the radar, what I do to keep my ego in somewhat check. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for my children, I'm taking them to school. I look in the rearview mirror. I'm asking them questions. They're not responding to me. Each one of them has headphones on,
I
watching the
love that.
show, and they tell me like, "Hold on, let me get the almost." And I'm like, "This is going to be hard." So
Yeah.
what I do, I don't over compliment my kids.
Yeah.
I hit it right in the middle. I hit it where my parents complimented me. I hit it right here, and the other half, I go, "You still need to work harder. It's not up to par. It's not good enough yet." I got to have a little Joe Jackson in me, if you know what I'm talking about.
I do, man. I do. I do.
Just a smidge.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
kicked his kids' asses
Yeah.
into being global icons.
Yeah.
I just want my kids to be the best they can be and to be humble. And so when I'm pissed at them, I don't smack them. I take the shit they like away. I
Right.
take their laptop, I take their phone, and I go draw or something. You have to do something. So I make them pause and draw. Go practice guitar. Go do something to balance your brain out. And I'm fucking nuts. So like in my household, my kids are like, yo, Pops is fucking crazy. Like you will not be some entitled,
Yeah.
spoiled, the boss's son, the boss's daughter. I hated those people. And
Yeah.
I was that. So my old man was the boss of the print shop.
Right.
And I was probably a little cocky fucker fucking with his employees, stealing their porno mags. I would do all kinds of shit, that I knew I could get away with. But it'll be a challenge, man, to keep our
Yeah.
kids humble. And I think by us showing them what poverty looks like with, homeless people, helping out some homeless people, they're in the middle because we're Chicanos, right? So you go to Mexico, they look at you as American. You're pocho. You're fucking Americanized. Get the fuck out of here. You come here, they're talking about we need to build that wall.
Right. That's
So
crazy.
they're like, man, where do I fit in? Am I even
Totally.
American and shit?
Totally.
But
It's funny. It's
where
similar,
you're
man. Well, I'm from my family's from India. I was born in Brooklyn, but my family's from India.
Yeah.
The same thing. Like you go to India, and like people who are like from India were like, "Oh, this guy's like soft American." They call them like
Sure.
ABCDs. They're like American born confused. They sees the word used for like someone is Indian. And then like here when I grew up living, so I didn't fit in over there. Then I grew up on like I lived in Brooklyn. Then we moved to the South Shore of Long Island, very blue collar neighborhood. It was like Italian, Irish, Jewish neighborhood, and like I'd just get the shit kicked out of me in my neighborhood on the bus stop because I was the only brown kid with glasses. Like it's a similar thing. What do you want to when you're a minority?
You should just say you were Puerto Rican.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're better off.
A little bit better off.
Yeah, man. It's interesting. I mean, even now it's interesting, like being a minority, like in present day. It's just like it's a crazy thing, man. And like I think each minority subgroup has like their own shit that they deal with. And like I remember like 9/11 happened. Like people who were like like
they can't tell the difference between a Hindu and
just this is like now like God like Chinese people are just getting tormented.
Thai people.
It makes no sense. These are Chinese people that live here. It's like
some of them are Filipino or Japanese.
Totally, man. It's just like it's just the level of ignorance, which is it's unfortunate, but that's why we're minorities.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten everything I've needed to get. I want to. Unfortunately, my family on my mom's side's a little bit lighter than my old man's side. So the Spaniard side's been coming up, but it's you can't use anything to hold you back. You got to push forward, right? I went to Mumbai to tattoo some Bollywood stars and my friend Sonny out there. And I got to see the real India, bro. I was there for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I even went to a city and stayed at a hotel. We were the only people in the hotel, me and Estevan. And there was no hot water in the hotel. But it was like a 4-star hotel, like a fancy hotel with no hot water,
Jeez.
But when you looked outside, you were like, okay, we still got it. Fucking, we ended up in like a 5-star Hilton somewhere or whatever, right? But as soon as you walk out to the hotel,
it's crazy.
Armed guards, and you're in a slum.
Dude, it's crazy. India's crazy.
Slum. And you've been.
The level of poverty. It's like I remember the first time I went as like an adult. I was in medical school and I went with my mom. I used to keep a journal at that time, and I was literally. I just. It was hard to take, man. It was actually really hard to take.
I mean, I thought Mexico poverty, which you could get like stupid, crazy poverty, but India was definitely on another level.
Yeah,
a bigger country, but I'd seen a lot of beauty also, of course, from the people, and man, I did feel like a lazy piece of shit when I was there looking at those people. Like I have everything.
Yeah.
I have zero to complain about. Money can fix basically any problem. So yeah, I see some like couples like were on mopeds and shit, and we're like in love and like having a full blown conversation, which is 100% poverty, looked like a
Yeah.
random, and I'm like sweating like my wife curved my 22s or some shit. You know, like
Yeah.
this shit's fucked up. You know.
No, I know. It puts shit in perspective, man, for sure. Hey, man, just like I said, I could talk to you forever, but there was a couple of questions I just wanted to ask you, like before
Sure.
we sign off here. One is, can you talk just a little bit about, like, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of folks that love tattoos that listen to this just because you're a legend,
Sure.
the goat. And can
Thank
you
you.
talk about how tattoo culture has just kind of evolved? Like, it's become like it's been so legitimized and like
Sure.
and it's I mean, it's gotta be great for what you do, but it's the whole culture is just totally changed so much,
I I had no idea. I really didn't. I just thought that a graffiti writer should have full sleeve tattoos. You know what I mean? And my friends that were like so dope at graffiti, finally when I got good enough to like go paint a wall with them in like 17, 18, they're like, fuck that, graffiti's whack. And I was like, oh shit.
Now
I
what do I do?
finally got good enough and they're like, that shit's whack. What are you talking about? So I had to like I had to like understand that I had to keep evolving. I had to keep moving. Um, but to see them get tattooed like that, I fell in love with the culture. And I wasn't into the, oh, this is going to be a global sensation, this and that.
Right.
I just wanted to be in there and be a part of it, you know? It ended up being, on accident, something that most people want. Now, prior to that, I was a commercial artist. I would do wall murals. I would do a logo for your business. I would do an album cover. I would mural a car. I could do pretty much everything associated to that. But only professional people that own companies want that shit. Your average Joe walking through the mall, he wants a tattoo or he wants one fixed or his old lady wants one. Or they
Right.
know something, but they don't want like a wall mural. They don't want the car mural. They drive a fucking Prius, you know? So it took me to a whole other place and it just exploded under my feet. Not just because of me, but everybody doing their thing, you know, kind of just blew it. And I turned down all those reality shows for LA Inc. and all these ones they came to me with just because I wanted to do a documentary like that, what came out.
Right.
That was in my head what I see us in, not like a show I got to get ratings and be like do wacky things and argue with my old lady. But I'm glad the people that did it, so I didn't have to do it because it did bring awareness to tattooing and calm a lot of people down and a lot of like ball players and people maybe that wouldn't be exposed to tattooing. There's got to, but I'll I'll end this with this. Just this question. It's funny that I'm talking to you about it, but now the cross contamination, blood-borne pathogen, all that stuff's going to be looked at different. Like we have to take classes with the health department, right? And I have to have a license. So I have to take these classes and study these to learn about cross contamination. Now your average Joe on the street needs to understand about cross contamination and
Right.
how we get ourselves sick and how we have others sick. So now I have to relook the way I tattoo. Now I'm gonna have to come and dress the same way you are when you do an operation. In other words, I was tattooing like this with gloves
Hmm.
and I bagged all my equipment. I bag all my equipment and I use one off needles. Everything's one off.
Hmm.
The inks,
Hmm.
everything's thrown away afterwards. Um, Now I'm gonna have to have a mask, a glass, the plastic welder's thing, you know,
Yeah.
and sleeved up and wash even 10 minutes long, you know, longer, 5 minutes longer,
Right.
and all the way up to my elbows, and just really no more like, hey, let's order lunch in the tattoo. It's gonna be like everything's ready. You come in, you get your pattern. It's me and you, and I'm building the first anti-COVID shop right now, where
Really.
everything can be wiped out. Everything's a one-on-one. But I was building it just like that because antisocial. I didn't know it was like perfect for cleanliness and all this
Yeah.
shit. But yeah, it worked out.
Wow.
Gonna open in like as soon as this ends.
Yeah, man.
I've been
So
working on it for a year.
when someone comes to you, so you know, like every ball player has like a tattoo. I'm sure you've done like a whole bunch of them. When someone comes to get like a sleeve or like a half a sleeve, do you do that all in one
Sure.
shot?
Sometimes these people, I can't do a whole sleeve in one day. I can get close, but it's traumatic on the. Either way, it's going to be traumatic on the customer, but on the client, I want to make it more of an enjoyable experience. I don't want these people to be like, "That was horrible." So sometimes I'll spread it out with 2 days. It's
Like
still going to be in
back
pain
to
on the
back,
forearm,
or
back to back. Yeah, the
gotcha.
most you can go before the tattoo starts healing is 3 days. So some people will get 3 days in a row,
Wow.
and that's extremely painful. But they live in fucking Australia, like they got to
Yeah.
get it done. So
Right.
they don't have the luxury of like coming back in two
Yeah.
months or something.
Do they take like meds or anything to like bear the pain?
Uh, well, sometimes people pre-medicate themselves before they
Right.
come in.
Yeah.
If that shit really worked, I would give the prescription for them or some shit. But it doesn't really. It's just like if you, the guys that take pills anyways every day, well, go ahead. That's what you do, you know. But if you're taking it just to cover the
Yeah.
pain, it won't work.
Wow.
So yeah, it'll dumb it down a little bit, but and
Yeah.
it's they made the rule like don't drink during the tattoo because it thins your. It's mainly because don't drink because you turn into an asshole.
Right. Yeah. 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 I can
I
imagine.
just your blood's not that much. I'm not doing color work myself. I only do black and gray. But yeah, you want if someone could go ahead and get drunk after.
Yeah.
But I want you to stay still, put some headphones. I want to also have a very calm, relaxing experience for my clients.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to come in like a doctor, but it's for their safety, for mine.
Yeah.
I got them opened up. I'm basically a doctor at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a surgical procedure, basically.
Yeah.
It's funny. The gloves that
I'm
I
not. I'm
use.
not a doctor though,
Oh,
but
hey,
I
tattoo
could
doctor.
dress up on. I could dress up on like
Hey,
one
Doctor
day.
Cartoon, man. You can just
I used to put doctor in front of my name when I was a kid. When I was like 15, I'll put sir or doctor or some shit.
Yeah, man. So the gloves I actually use. So I love like black gloves. The gloves I use, these gloves called Black Dragon. They're tattoo gloves.
Yeah, yeah, for
They're like
sure.
the best gloves I could find. So it's funny in all
Yeah,
my videos, like my YouTube videos, I'm wearing these black tattooing gloves. But they're
yeah.
the
You
best
have
ones.
because they're real thick. And tattooers, we poke ourselves, man, whether we
Yeah.
like it. I mean, I've been tattooing for 25 years and still poke myself here and there. But
Right.
it doesn't leave a mark. It doesn't make it through those gloves,
Yeah.
So that's good.
Hey man, listen, I like I said, I could talk to you all day, man. But I just
Same here, bro.
I so appreciate you, man. And I really your energy, and listen, I'm a big energy guy, man. And
For
as
sure.
skeptical as you may be about it, I really feel a lot of positivity from you, man. And I think your story
No,
is something that's gonna just empower so many people, man. It's like, and I do believe the stuff your dad told you. I think, yeah, everyone can't do every single thing. Like I'm never gonna be, dunking a basketball. It's just not gonna happen.
well, at
But
least for the NBA, but
yeah,
you
but your
could
limitations,
possibly.
everyone's limitations are here. Like
Sure.
it's like, yeah, I don't know if you know who David Goggins is, but he's, like it's like he's like one of these guys that says you're basically at your maximum, you're still only using 40% of your capability, And
I've heard that.
I'm a big believer in that. And I think people hearing your story, some kid that loves art and like,
Sure.
hearing that, wow, like, yeah, I think I could do something substantial. But you know what? I learned that I got to put a lot of work in. Like I got to,
Mm,
put in the hours and the grind and, maybe work a job I don't want to do or pay my dues. But yeah, you know what? I can maybe be like Mr. Cartoon or something at that level.
sure. Well, with that, accompanied with that, you need to have, I believe, my opinion, clarity. So
Yes.
clarity is just as important as all that hard work. Because you can put all that hard work into some bullshit and
Very
get
true.
that, right? So what I mean by clarity is I'll use myself as an example. I'm always starting something new. Okay. When I just wanted to be an artist. I didn't know it was going to be a graffiti artist or a tattoo artist. I just wanted to be an artist, right? So I made that decision. I'm clear on that. I'm clear on that I'm an artist by trade, right? So I went from a graffiti artist to being a commercial artist, then a commercial artist into a fashion, say we're a fashion artist, and then into a tattoo artist. And then from there, I was like, man, I love doing storyboards. And so I've storyboarded 20 music videos, right? And I like film. And from so many interviews, I've learned like media training and that type of stuff. And I was like, man, in my head, like accomplishing all these different things, I'm at the point now where I want to do film. I want to do animation, right? So I'm having to start over at it. I've only done one professional animation that's been in a movie, but I've done small title ones that have been online and different things. But I've been preparing for animation my whole life by being a storyteller, by practicing my art and learning as I go. So now I'm embarking into a new world. I don't have 20 years experience in animation to go do this, but I have to have a clear image of myself. What am I doing? Who's going to help me? Where am I going? How am I going to get this done? What time frame am I going to get this done? And how am I going to feel when it's done? So if I can figure out how am I going to feel, that feeling of accomplishment and that you grinded and that you did it, if I have that as a goal, then I know even though I'm feeling down and discouraged right now, I'm going to get that. So I have something to push towards. There's that self-help shit coming through me
Yeah, I
again,
mean,
you know?
totally, man. That's so beautifully said. You're right. The clarity is key, and that when you see the end zone, it really it fuels those dark nights, you know, and those dark moments.
Yeah.
Fucked something up, or you know, you're hurting, or you know, you feel like you're not moving
Take it
anywhere.
all. Yeah. Take it all in, you know, take it all in and stuff you don't agree with, being that I'm so skeptical. I don't agree with certain things, but I can't argue with the amazing feeling I get when I look at my kids. I can't argue with the feeling of desperation or nervousness or fear, or the amazing experiences I've had, or a sense of humor, laughter, love. These are all invisible feelings or concepts or things that we've named them that, but I can't explain it under a microscope. Love. I mean, I can experience it. I can see it happening. But so I'm scared. I'm a free thinker when it comes to that. I leave it open. I don't know. I don't know everything, and I don't think I ever will. But I sometimes know what works for me. You know what I'm saying? And I can watch you. If I watch you all day, I was like, okay, I see what time you get up and your routine. Okay, I can apply some of that in my life. You know, and when this is over, I know we could talk another hour. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So surround yourself by like-minded people. If you're not on a team of like-minded people, get on one, create one. Um, see what your vision is. What you forward the movie all the way through. What is it that you want to do? Why? How's it going to look? You wanted my new studio. I completely saw it way before it ever appeared. I had to sketch it out on paper. I had to push towards it. That's how it manifested, is because I put so much work.
man.
So there's this movie called The Secret, or a show. And have you ever seen that, The Secret?
Nah, no, I never heard of it.
It might be complete bullshit, but it's basically what you think about manifests. But they'll push it so far as like, you think about that new Bentley, it's going to show up in your driveway. And I'm like, true, but the $5,000 a month note will be there too.
Hell yeah,
So
I know.
careful what you ask for.
That's so true, man. Well, I mean, visualizing is key, and you know, you are like you're just like a walking self help book, man. You know, like all that stuff. I'm telling you, that stuff rubbed off on you, man. Like,
Well, some of that shit's bullshit. Like if you look at your lawn, right, and say no weeds, there's no weeds in my lawn.
yeah,
The weeds will take your fucking lawn,
yeah,
right?
that's true. That's
So
true.
it's I'll never. I looked at my son. I go, look, son, you can be whatever you want to be, but you know what? I'll take that back. You are never going to be dunking for the WNBA ever in your life. It'll never work out for you. You'll never be a figure skater in the Olympics. That ain't going to happen for you. But you can design the Olympics logo or the merch. So you can be in it. Like if you love the NBA, 5'6", 5'8" Mexican ain't gonna happen. But you could, maybe you're the phenom of the. You could change that, but for most people, they can get in there by working behind the scenes and still be involved and rise to and be friends with those guys.
Totally, man. Totally. That's so well said, man. And
thank you, man.
I think that's a good place to wrap it up, man. I mean, God, I don't think I could even be more inspired after this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, don't get it twisted when I'm in fetal position worried tomorrow about some shit. But with these concepts, I can pull out of it.
Yeah, man. No, it's awesome, man.
Pull out of it.
I really appreciate you, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Doc. I appreciate you, man. Let's stay in touch.
Thank you for listening to the Dr. Mudgil podcast. The audio for this podcast can be found on Apple's iTunes and SoundCloud. Let's get it.